Welcome to Learn Law Better. In this episode, I will explain the grading curve and how you should interpret your curved grades. Stay to the end and learn why feeling pain over your grades is healthy and how you can use that pain to earn higher grades. Now, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy the episode and click the subscribe and bell button if you don't want to miss any future episodes. Also, I will gladly answer your questions in the comments section. Hi, this is Bo Baez, and today I want to discuss the grading curve. First, I'll briefly explain how the curve works. Second, I'll give you the reasons for the curve. Third, I will explain why the curve is keeping you from getting higher grades. And finally, I will tell you how to interpret your grades so that you can start earning higher grades. The grading curve is used at most law schools. Each professor has a certain number of points that can be earned in the course. For example, a course with 50 students might have a maximum of 300 points, with the top student earning 270 points and the bottom student earning 83 points. The professor then starts assigning letter grades based on the law school's curve. Some law schools grade from A to F, others from A to B minus, or some other combination. Law schools use the curve in most classes as a way of ensuring fairness. The idea is that all classes, at least those with more than just a few students, are made up of similar students. Therefore, a uniform grade distribution for each class is fair. The curve avoids the problem of the tough grader and also the easy grader. Also, when there are multiple sections of a course taught by different professors, it ensures equality between the two sections. Of course, some of the assumptions behind the curve are false, as anyone who has taught multiple sections of a course can tell you. Some years ago, I taught 3 sections of torts. I taught all 3 sections identically and gave the same exam to all 3 sections. One section was clearly at the top in student scores, one was in the middle, and there was a third one that was significantly lower. But because of the curve, the grades between all 3 sections were identical. This means that the students in the weakest section ended up getting A's, even though if those students had been in that top section, they would have gotten B's. That's one of the problems with the curve. A second reason for the curve is that some law schools want to help their students get jobs. If no one at the law school gets anything below a B minus, then students are at a competitive advantage over those law students at other schools that don't curve grades. Think about it this way. A student with a 3.25 GPA from law school number 1, who graduated dead last in his class, looks much better than a student with a 2.75 from law school number 2 who graduated in the middle of his class. In other words, the curve keeps employers from easily comparing students at different law schools. The curve, unfortunately, is keeping some of you from getting higher grades. This is especially true at law schools where most of the students end up in the B range. At my alma mater, the median was a B minus, which meant that most students got a B minus in most classes. Some earned higher grades and very few less than a B minus. For many law students, a B minus doesn't hurt enough to make changes. In a strange way, the curve is like leprosy, known today as Hansen's disease. This horrible disease attacks the body by taking away the sense of pain. Now, at first glance, lack of pain sounds pretty nice since we do a lot of things in life to avoid pain. But imagine what happens when you cut your foot. You don't feel the pain, so you don't know you're bleeding. Then your foot gets infected. Or if you break a leg and you just keep walking because you don't know it's broken and your leg gets worse. Pain is the signal to the brain that something is wrong and that we need help. The curve suppresses pain in exactly the same way. Now you need to interpret your curved grade and convert it to an honest grade. To do this, you need to figure out where you stand relative to most of your classmates. Most law schools publish their grading policies so you can figure out more or less where you stand. For example, a B might place you in the middle of the class at your law school. Think of that B as a C. And at that same law school, a B minus might mean the bottom 25%. So you need to think of that as a D. By the way, if you're at a school that gives Fs, be aware that a curve is also artificially increasing your grade. Your C is probably closer to a D minus. Now, ask yourself, am I happy with a C minus or a D minus? Hopefully, seeing your grade honestly will cause you some pain, which will spur you to make the changes that you need to make to study better and prepare for your exams. If you enjoyed this material, hit the like button. Also, to avoid missing any future episodes, hit the subscribe and bell button. For more resources to help you get ahead, including my blog and newsletter, check out learnlawbetter.com. Thanks for watching.